Hello everyone and welcome to the virtual visit to the Nano Optics and Mesoscopic Optics Laboratory. Now before we enter the lab, I would like to give you a very brief gist of what work we do in our group. So the term mesoscopic optics is derived from mesoscopic physics, which deals with the propagation of electrons in atomic crystal. Now it turns out the very same physics can be studied probably to a better precision and a better accuracy using light. And that's why the phrase mesoscopic optics. So we create crystal-like structures for light, allow the light to propagate and study the interference of light waves within these structures. Now because these structures are of the order of nanometers, few tens of nanometers or up to a few hundreds of nanometers, the phrase nano optics is realized. That's why the lab is termed Nano Optics and Mesoscopic Optics Laboratory. Over and above the physics of electrons, light can be subjected to some very interesting conditions such as nonlinearity or amplification and some facets of quantum propagation. These are the topics that we study in this lab. So now we will have a gist of few of the experiments that are running and I'll tell you how these experiments fit into the bigger picture. Let's go in. Thank you. Okay, so welcome everyone inside the lab. So that's how the lab looks in totality. And what we have here are three optical tables on which various optics experiments are set up. And now we will start looking at a few of these experiments in their individual capacity. On this first optical table, we would like to show you a couple of workhorse lasers in the lab. What you see there, the longish white box, it's a neodymium YAG pulse laser. It delivers pulses at a frequency of 10 Hz, so that's 10 pulses per second, and every pulse is roughly 30 picoseconds wide. It's called a mode lock laser, and the wavelength, the primary wavelength it emits in is 1 micrometer. There's a way of doubling the energy to get a wavelength of 500 nanometers, and as some of you may know, 500 nanometers corresponds to roughly green color. So I would like to show you pulses of green color. I hope you see it on this piece of paper. If the camera can pan onto this paper, I hope you are able to see green pulses on this paper. So that's the green laser that is in the lab firing right now. Next to that box, we will show you now another smallish laser, smallish in size though, not in energy. It's much bigger in energy than the first one. And that's also a neodymium YAG laser. We are not firing it right now to avoid the clutter in the discussion. So the difference in this laser is that it delivers pulses which are 5 nanoseconds wide. So remember, that one is 25 to 30 picoseconds wide. This is 5 nanoseconds wide. The box in front of this laser is called an optical parametric oscillator. The property of this particular box is that it can take energy from the first laser. This is then called the pump laser. It takes energy from this one and it can convert that into beam of various colors. Practically all the wavelengths starting from roughly 200 nanometers all the way up to 2 micrometers. So 200 nanometers gets to the boundary of ultraviolet, 2 micrometers gets into the near infrared. So this conversion is achieved by the optical parametric oscillator. But to avoid the clutter on the table, we would like to demonstrate to you one small experiment which is done using the picosecond laser. So what's happening here right now is that the green laser beam is redirected by a mirror onto this sample, which you see a yellow colored, an orange colored fluid in that sample. That orange colored fluid is essentially a laser dye. It's called rhodamine. The dye absorbs the green light and it emits the energy in yellow and orange colors. I'm sure you can see the yellow-orange fluorescence there. The fluorescence is basically collected by an optical fiber. The blue device you see here is an optical fiber which takes the fluorescence to a spectrometer, and that spectrometer shows us the components of wavelength in this emission. You can see this red line which shows us what we call the spectrum of the sample. And where does this fit into our research? So it turns out if you add nanoparticles inside this fluid, it will create the disorder that I was talking about earlier, and that disorder completely changes the properties of the spectrum. So this phenomenon is known as random lasing, which implies lasing-like effects coming from randomness. That's why random lasing. Alright, so friends, here we come to the second experiment where we want to show you light propagation through what are known as magnetic nanofluids. So what you see right under my finger here is a sample which consists of a magnetic nanofluid. They are essentially nanoparticles of the order of 5 to 10 nanometers suspended in a liquid, and they respond to a magnetic field. And the red spot you see there is coming from a helium neon laser, which is this black tube on the optical table. It emits light at 632 nanometers. At least this one does. There are other wavelengths for helium neon lasers also. This helium neon laser beam falls onto this magnetic nanofluid, and then we apply a magnetic field. So you see two copper coils here which pass a current and create a solenoidal magnetic field. So the two coils will form a Helmholtz configuration along with the cores there to enhance the magnetic field. And when the magnetic field is applied to the sample, turns out the tiny nanoparticles will rearrange themselves into fibers, into filament-like structures. And the effect of that is that this spot that you see on the paper, I hope you are able to see the red spot, that will slowly change shape, and it will take a different configuration based on what the fibers inside the sample look like. So let me also inform you that you see an interesting device onto my left. That is called a streak camera. A streak camera is an extremely high resolution temporal device, which means it measures phenomena in the time domain. It has we know that this particular phenomenon of a magnetic nanofluid has a lot of interesting physics which happens at a very fine time scales. So at some point of time in this experiment, we can't demonstrate that to you now, but in this experiment the transmitted light will be redirected into the streak camera, and we will study the physics of the temporal evolution of light inside magnetic nanofluids. Alright, so now the next experiment that we want to show to you deals with something called the speckle. Now what is a speckle? You know that when coherent light enters a medium, let's say a disordered medium, then every point of disorder basically scatters the coherent light, and light that is now transmitted or reflected will start interfering with itself. And you heard that when two rays or waves interfere constructively, it results into a bright point, and when the two waves or rays interfere destructively, it creates a dark point. So a system which has a random conglomerate of particles or nanoparticles will create a random image of bright and dark points. Let me demonstrate that with this device. It's a simple ground glass diffuser. Basically, it's a random collection of particles, okay? And I'm going to show you what happens when it enters this beam. You see the red spot here? That's basically the same helium neon laser which I showed you earlier. We have simply expanded the beam. And let's see what happens when this device enters the laser beam. Yeah, so now you can see on the white paper a collection of bright and dark points. You see that? That is the speckle pattern created by the ground glass diffuser. Now, it can all seem random and meaningless to you, but believe you me, there's a lot of physics in that image that tells us about the properties of the sample I have put into the light. So what we do is, we tend to collect such speckle images for different conditions, and we can derive the physics that is underlying the propagation of light. So, where does the speckle fit into our research? Well, we are back at the picosecond laser, and now we are going to study from it the radiation emitted at 1.064 micrometers, which is by the safety glasses. And this radiation will now fall onto a device which is known as the BBO crystal. It is barium orthoborate crystal, which converts the energy at 1 micrometer to half the wavelength, which is twice the energy. To be specific, it will convert it into 532 nanometers radiation. So when I put this piece of paper in the beam here, you will not see the beam naturally because it is outside the visible range. But after the crystal, I hope you have started seeing a spot which is green in color. This conversion is being enabled by the crystal inside the beam path. Alright, so what we study using nonlinear samples is the nonlinear speckle phenomena. So similar to the BBO sample or the barium orthoborate sample, I have in my hand a white color sample which is called the KDP, potassium dihydrogen phosphate. As you can see, it is in powder format. It's in a container created out of glass slides, and because it is in a powder format, when light is made incident onto this sample, it creates the speckle, similar to what we saw a few minutes ago. But here, there are two phenomena happening simultaneously. One is formation of the speckle, and other one is conversion of energy from infrared to the green. Now, the speckle from this sample is going to be extremely weak. It has to be only seen on very sensitive CCD cameras. So we'll show you an image in the course of this video, but we can't show you the speckle on paper like we saw earlier. But what I will definitely show you is the conversion of the infrared light coming from the picosecond laser into green light. Just watch the sample. So let's go carefully into the middle of the beam, and at some point, there it is. I hope you are seeing the formation of green light from this powder. So please be assured that there's also speckle formation happening because of powder, and I hope we are able to show you the CCD images of this particular speckle. So this is how we study nonlinear optical phenomena in disordered systems. There's a lot of novel, unresearched physics in this particular system of nonlinear disorder. Alright friends, so now we are at the quantum laboratory where we study the propagation of quantum light through disordered systems. And when we say quantum light, we normally refer to three types of light beams. So one of them is a single photon beam, which means by design we only send single photons every instant. And the other one is a correlated photon pair beam, which means at any point of time there is always necessarily a pair of photons propagating in the beam. And the third one is an entangled photon beam. So there are some properties which are quantum entangled, which create some interesting effects in the disordered system. Now, in these experiments, we are not able to demonstrate the results of these experiments because there's a lot of data analysis that goes in during the experiments. So we can't demonstrate the results of quantum light propagation in disordered system. But what we will try and do here is demonstrate the creation of these kind of quantum light beams. So let's go on to the experiment for creation of single photons or correlated photon pairs. Alright, so friends, I hope you can see a device here. The blue colored box is actually a laser which also emits blue light. The wavelength of the light is 405 nanometers, and I hope you can see the blue beam when I input. You see this paper, the blue colored beam. It's a very strong beam, and that beam is made incident through some various optical devices onto this black box. Now this black box is actually a temperature controlled box. Inside it is a sample which converts the energy of that blue light. In the earlier experiment, we have seen a conversion from low energy, that is about 1 micron wavelength, to higher energy, that is about 500 nanometers wavelength. Here what this one does is, it converts the 405 nanometer light into lower energy, roughly 800 nanometers light. So high energy photon converted to low energy photons. And the interesting point here is that every blue photon is broken down into necessarily two low energy photons, close to half the wavelength, and that is where you can get what we call the quantum light. For example, out of these photons, you can use one photon as a messenger. It's called a herald. You can use it as a herald and do your experiments with the other single photon. So now you have created a single photon beam, or since you know that these two photons are coming together, you can use them as a correlated photon beams. And there are also properties which are entangled when you set up the correct experiments. So you can use this light as entangled photon pair beams also. Now let me show you, part of the UV light, part of the blue light is converted, so you still see the unconverted part coming out of this crystal. Now the converted light is of 800 nanometers, which is barely visible to the eye when the beams are intense. But because this is a very weak 800 nanometer beam, you will not see it with the eye. So we have to cut down the blue beam, so these two filters will cut down the beam, so you see no transmission here. So only the 800 nanometer light is being transmitted here. So we send that light using this mirror onto a device. The large black device you see is a spectrometer. Connected to that is a highly intense CCD, highly sensitive CCD. So that setup basically measures the down converted light, or the light with lower energies, which has wavelengths about 800 nanometers. Now the point I should make here is that because this is a temperature controlled box, you can change the wavelength by changing the temperature, and that way we can create two photons which are very close to each other in wavelength, around 810 nanometers, or we can actually make them both 810 nanometers at the same time, which gives you what is known as indistinguishable photons. So I can't show you the beams, but I will definitely show you the spectrum, which is the signature of the formation of photons. So let's go to the spectrometer. Alright, so here you see the output of the spectrometer, and you can clearly see two peaks here, each peak representing one of the photon beams. So you can see there are two different wavelengths, 805 nanometers and about 815 nanometers. And what we will do now is we will start changing the temperature. So both these beams will come onto a single wavelength, basically 810 nanometers wavelength. So you can see it happening right now in front of your eyes. There you can now see a single peak at 810 nanometers. That basically means that both the beams have now exactly the same wavelength. So it's a beam of two correlated photons which are indistinguishable. You can use this beam for various experiments. Alright, so now we have come to the last setup in this demonstration, where we want to show you the confocal reflectance setup. So here we use a supercontinuum laser. This laser gives broadband white light. So just for this demonstration, we would like to show you the beam here, which is you can see this very bright white beam. When it falls onto the diffraction grating, you will see it consists of all colors, which it will disperse the colors into its components. So you can see all visible colors in this reflection dispersion, and there are also infrared colors which your eyes can't see, but they will be in this point here. So the experiment basically involves making this beam incident on a sample. So let us get the beam back into the experiment. So I'm going to flip a mirror here like that. So now you can see the beam has now entered the experimental setup, and it is basically sent into this objective which falls onto the sample underneath the objective. So the reflectance from the sample is then collected by the same objective and redirected it. So the beam here you see is the reflectance from the sample. Right now there is no sample, we just want to show you the path of the beam. So this reflected beam then slowly is redirected into a detector of our choice, and that allows us to measure reflectances of different kinds of samples. So this is the reflectance spectroscopy of disordered samples, and it is used to study the response of various energy photons from our disordered systems. Alright friends, so that was a quick rundown on some of the experiments we do in the lab. We hope you like the demo. We would love to see you in person in the labs as soon as the situation improves. Till then, thank you very much, and my entire team will be available to answer any questions if you have. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.